This is section 4.3, solving inequalities using multiplication or division. So this is going to work the same way as when we were solving equations, but we're going to add a new rule. The only new rule is that if you multiply or divide by a negative number, then you're going to flip the inequality. So it's going to point the other direction. So let's take a look at what that's going to look like. So the first one, we have n over 7. It's greater than or equal to negative 1. And I know to get rid of dividing by 7, I multiply by 7 on both sides. I'm multiplying by a positive number, so I don't have to flip my inequality. So n is greater than or equal to negative 7. And then we go ahead and graph our inequality. Here's negative 7. It's a closed circle because we have that equal to underneath. And then I pick my favorite number, 0. And is 0 greater than or equal to negative 7? Well, yes, it is, so I'm going to point toward the 0. Looking at the next one, we have 7 is greater than p over negative 4. Want to get p by itself, so the opposite of dividing by negative 4 is multiplying by negative 4, so I'm going to do that to both sides. Since I'm multiplying by a negative, I'm going to flip my inequality to point the other direction. So on the left side, we're going to have negative 28, and then on the right side, we're left with p. Then let's go ahead and graph. So here's negative 28. I know it's an open circle because there's no equal to. And then I'm going to pick my favorite number of 0, and say, is negative 28 less than 0? Well, that's true, so I'm going to point towards 0. Checking out our next example, negative 18 is greater than 1.5q. Trying to get q by itself. Remember, if we don't have a symbol in between a number and a variable, we assume it's multiplication. The opposite of multiplication is division, so I'm going to divide both sides by 1.5. So if we take negative 18 divided by 1.5, we get negative 12. Notice we are dividing by a positive number, so we're going to keep our symbol the same way. And then we have q. So let's graph it, negative 12. It's an open circle because we don't have an equal to. Plug in my favorite number of 0 and say, is negative 12 greater than 0? That's not true, so I'm going to point away from 0. And last one of this bunch, we have negative 2r is greater than or equal to negative 22. I want to get r by itself, so I'm going to divide by negative 2. Notice I'm dividing by a negative number, so I'm going to flip my inequality sign. So r is less than or equal to 11. So I'm going to plot down 11. It's a closed circle because we have the equal to. Pick my favorite number of 0. Is 0 less than or equal to 11? Well, yes, it is, so I'm going to point toward the 0. I'm going to point towards the 0 then. All right, looking at a word problem, you have at most $3.65 to make copies. Each copy costs 25 cents. Write and solve an inequality that represents the number of copies you can make. So let's think, how can we express how much copies are going to make if we buy X numbers of copies? So we can represent that by saying 0.25x, if X is representing the number of copies. And we're comparing that to $3.65 because we have at most $3.65. So then we have to figure out what symbol goes in the middle. So I know that if I have $3.65, I could spend exactly that, so I know there's an equal to. And I know I can't spend more than that, so the opposite of more is less, so I'm going to put a less than. And then we solve by dividing by 0.25 on both sides. Since it's a positive number we're dividing by, we do not flip the inequality. So we take $3.65 divided by 25 cents, and we get 14.6. So we can make at most 14.6 copies. Well, You can't really make 0.6 copies, so you can make at most 14 copies.